It feels like I'm skydiving when I text you. Rose petals on the floor outside your bedroom. Sunshine whenever you smile.
Hey guys, welcome back. So, funny little mini story time before I start this story time. I'm in such a time crunch this morning. I'm kind of running late for work. My son's already on the bus, but I'm running a little late. And I walk into my bedroom this morning and I have my coffee cup in my hand and some other shit in my other hand, and somehow I managed to drop my entire cup of coffee on the floor. So if that tells you anything about how my life goes or how my day is starting, my week is starting, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So long story short, I want to get into this story time. My very first story time I did was my first experience with being cheated on and being screwed over by a friend who I thought was a friend. So this story time, I'm going to switch it up, kind of going to go into the times that I have cheated. I'm not perfect. I'm not saying that everyone cheats. However, I did a couple times in two relationships that I was in. The very first one, I was 16, I believe. And I started dating this guy I found on the internet again. He knew friends of mine though. He was family members actually with people that I grew up with down the street. Started talking a lot through MySpace or whatever the fuck it was. He was in Washington, living in Washington. He came up to visit for like a week. We hung out. My mom let him come over, stay the night, whatever. Super cool. He had some family in the area. I had my car, so I was gonna, take him to the next town to go see his sister and his mom and stuff. So it was cool, whatever. And right before I started dating him, actually, I was seeing this guy, and he was going to the community college in the town that I lived in. And at the time, my mom had gotten me a gym membership to start going to the gym all the time. I had always kind of struggled with my weight, still do now. But she bought me a year gym membership, and I was, at the time that he was visiting, I was going like every day. I was trying to be consistent with it. So we were hanging out in the living room, and I get a text from this guy, and he wants me to come see him at the college. And I'm with my boyfriend and whatever. So I made up this story, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna go to the gym, and we were like relaxing, and he was like, really, you can't take one day off? Like, I was like, no, like, this is really important to me, I really need to go. Well, I didn't go to the gym. I went and met up with the dude at the college that I was talking to before. We did our thing, hung out with him, and went right back to my boyfriend at the time that was at my mom's house. He was in the same spot on the couch, and I was feeling really guilty, and kind of tried to make it up to him. I did not tell him. I did not ever tell him, because we ended up breaking up a month or two later, and he was actually, this whole time that he was dating me and seeing me, he was still talking to and dating his ex-girlfriend. And they're engaged, and they got engaged about a year after, I believe, and they're still together. He's like a priest now, or like a bodybuilder or something, so yeah, he's doing good for himself. That wasn't really anything. I was pretty heartbroken about it. I saw potential in something that wasn't ever there, but there was that. And then the next relationship that I cheated in, I was with this guy off and on for about 2-3 years. He came into my life when my oldest son was about a year old. He was just visiting. He was living in another state also. He was just visiting, and he came over to hang out with me and our mutual friends were actually babysitting for me, watching my son when I was at work or whatever, and he pretty much just never left. So we got together. It was all fine and dandy. He was working, he had a job, I was working full-time, I had my son, I was in school, doing college classes at the college, and then I was doing online classes, and I was working like 2 jobs. Crazy insane. He was working for a while, and he had an anger issue. He had an issue with one of the female co-workers or something, so basically he got fired or let go. He never really told me the whole story behind that, but us both, working full-time, working together to raise my son, doing all that was going great, and then he lost his job. And he was at my house all the time still. I'd go to work, I'd go to school, I'd take the baby to daycare, do whatever I needed to do, and I'd come home and he would be either sleeping or sitting on the video games. Dishes would be in the sink, he'd eat up all my kids' snacks, like stuff like that. So it was just getting really bad, and I was getting hard to deal with anymore. So don't really know the specifics of how everything went. We were off and on for a while. We had broken up at least 2-3 times throughout the course of all of this, and within that time he was using drugs. He was hanging out with some people. I knew he had slept with the girl before, and supposedly he was just friends with the husband or whatever. And long story short, the dude ended up giving him drugs, and he took some, I think. He told me about it, and I flushed the rest down the toilet. I was like, I have a fucking kid here, bro. Like, you are accepting a huge role right now by taking this on. No one asked you to be here. No one asked you to play this part. At this time, my son's father was still in his life. He was having visitations with him. He would have 2 overnights within the week. He was only supposed to have 2 hours twice a week, so 4 hours within a week. I was being the nice person, letting him have overnights with a mutually agreed upon third party, basically. You know, not trying to detour from my choices and what I did. However, it was just a really bad relationship. Things just started getting bad. We were both not really mentally prepared for the relationship that we were both trying to take on. I'm not trying to speak for him, but that's just how I feel. And at this time I was, you know, 20, just turned 21, 22 around that time, because I lived in that apartment from 20 to 22. So it was within that time, you know, I just turned 21, I was drinking, going out. I actually worked for, my mom owns a bar, and I worked for the concession stand. And after work, would be able to take the money into the bar, you know, drop it off. You know, everyone that worked would get a free drink. And I kind of took advantage of that. I liked drinking at the time. It's not something I really like to do anymore. But at the time, it was something that I really liked doing. So meeting new people. And within the course of meeting those new people, I cheated on him a lot. There's times that I would pick fights with him or tell him I didn't want him to come over, that he needed to stay at his mom's house, because I had plans to be with somebody that night or have somebody over. There was one person in my ceramics class. Like I said, I was taking college classes. We went to high school together, and basically I asked for his number and asked him if he'd want to hang out, come over and do some things, and he did. I was lying to him, telling him I had a roommate or something that wasn't there, and we had to do it at a certain time. I think he knew what the fuck was up. We didn't talk after that. We had class together, but we didn't like talk or anything. So that was one that I cheated on him with. I actually cheated on him with one of his friends. He brought over to my house to hang out. I also knew this guy from like in passing and stuff, but yeah, I pretty much just told that guy yeah because I knew that it would piss him off. And I was being a bitch and a hoe. So yeah, I cheated on him with one of his good friends. I did not tell him about it until a long time after, but I did end up telling him about that one, about with his friend. Started feeling really bad about it. Obviously I do have a conscience, and to be honest with you, there was probably at least 2, 3, maybe 4 others that I cheated on him with. Just little like one-time hookups, not ever like did we go out on dates or spend a day together or have them spend the night or anything like that. This was around the time when I was making a lot of very bad decisions. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted. I was a young single mom taking on the responsibility of raising a child. You know, it might just sound like a bunch of justifications, but hey, that's my reasoning for it. I'm learning, I'm growing. I used to always say that once a cheater, always a cheater when I was younger, before I did cheat. Because I never understood why someone could cheat. Like, if you're not happy, just fucking leave. Just tell them and leave. Do not put someone else through that pain. Because I went through that pain. I didn't understand it until I was on the other side of the fence. I have a really hard time with confrontation or anything that I have an uneasy feeling about, or that I can't see the end result right away. So I was just scared. There's no excuse. I've told him that I'm really sorry because I know it messed him up a lot. He had a lot of problems before we got together. You know, we tried to be friends after everything. We actually hooked up a couple of times after everything. Tried to talk, tried to stay civil. Recently, he got a girlfriend within the last 6 months or so, and he blew me up saying that I'm a hoe, and he wishes he never met me, and he hopes to never hear mine or my son's name or never see us around. Thankfully, I do not live in that smallest town anymore. But when I do go visit, he's like, I hope I never see you down at so-and-so's house, or I hope I never see you, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to grow as a person. I'm trying to learn from my mistakes and my past experiences. Clearly, that's not something he's ready for yet, or he wouldn't have came at me in that way. You know, I've accepted my wrongdoings. There's another story time about that guy for later on when the cops were called, and so that'll be a story time for another day. But at this point, that pretty much wraps it up. Just kind of wanted to give the flip side of that first story time that I did. So if you guys have not yet, I know I kind of just blabbed a lot through this, trying to make this shorter than the first video. I'm kind of all over the place sometimes. I'm working on it. I promise. I will try. So if you have not yet, please subscribe. You do not want to miss the content coming on this channel. So far, it's just been story times. I do have a lot of other surprises coming. Things with my oldest son, conversations me and him are going to have. And yeah, just lots of other things you don't want to miss. So please make sure you subscribe, like, and comment on this video. Follow my other social medias. I do have a Facebook page I just started for this YouTube channel, and then my personal Instagram. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you so much. If you enjoyed this, let me know. Let me know what else you would like to see. I do have a lot of ideas. I have a lot of story times to be sharing. So stay tuned, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.